Is this thing on?
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Voice Podcast, a podcast for students by students. I'm super excited to be doing this podcast to be hosting this podcast with Drishti. And joining us today are the Innovation Hub team and the Spark team. Today, we are going to be discussing about community-based innovations at SLC. Welcome, everyone, and please introduce yourself.
Hey, everyone. My name is Steve Janssens. I'm the creative director of Spark. Right now, definitely working within the Innovation Hub and excited to sort of see what we can do in this new year. But excited to see a bunch of new faces. Hopefully, fingers crossed, going to 80% capacity in the new year should be pretty exciting. So thank you again for having me.
My name is Jaden. I'm in the BBA program here at St. Lawrence College. I'm also an Innovation Hub Associate, as well as the Enactus SLC General Manager. And I am thrilled to be on this SA Voice podcast.
My name is Sophie. Currently, I'm a second-year student of Advertising and Marketing Communications program. And at the same time, I'm marketing coordinator at Spark. And again, thank you for having me here.
My name is Hector. I am in my last year of graphic design program. I work here at Spark as a graphic designer, working different projects like with Switchboard, Your Way, and maybe some familiar names up there. I'm really excited to work at Spark and to be here in this podcast. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, and I'm Gerhard, the project manager at Spark. With Jaden, I'm currently in the home stretch of the BBA program. And then along with that, I'm helping Steve and Jaden and provide some firepower and some of the, intellectual background on student enterprise, which we talked about on this podcast last week. And I'm super excited to be back.
Hi, everyone. I'm Drishti, a co-host to the Student Voice podcast. I'm a board member for the Student Association Board of Directors and a campus ambassador for GodMe. And I am looking forward to this podcast. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Thank you, Drishti, Gerhard, Sophia, Jadine, Hector, and Sophia. I've mentioned Sophia, and I think Jadine, I've mentioned everyone. Thank you, everyone, for joining us in this podcast. So today we are going to discuss community-based innovation. So I want to ask, what is community-based? What's a community-based innovation?
Absolutely, I can kind of take that question. For us, I'm not sure, if I think that a lot of the students and maybe some of your listeners haven't been on campus, in quite a while, if at all. We've kind of got some team members and some students that we know that kind of have kind of taken their entire program and done it online. So community-based innovation is based out of the Innovation Hub, which is on the second floor. What we do is really try and basically create an environment where the community can come into the college, and the college community, like faculty, staff, and students, can engage with them and work to create solutions to community problems, innovate in different ways, but mostly kind of like have that area where that can be a collision zone between community problems and the thinkers of tomorrow kind of thing, as we like to sort of refer to students here. But community-based innovation itself is something that it's very much what it sounds like. A lot of what we do really revolves around not only kind of us as a faculty or staff kind of defining problems within a vacuum or within a bubble. We know a lot of problems and problem statements and really challenges within the community kind of they come up organically, right? So I think a lot of the ways that the college can help to solve problems is to work to bring those challenges and those clients and those if it's community members who are facing employment barriers, or nonprofit organizations or small businesses that are having challenges in some way, bringing them into a curriculum or into a post-secondary environment can really provide a real world learning scenario for a number of the students. So you can see that the value kind of goes both ways. But yeah, that's sort of like I mean, I could talk about it all day, but I think that's sort of the basis and introduction into what community-based learning is.
This is amazing. You know, when I created an iTest kit for communities in unserved communities in Nigeria, I would say it's sort of like a community-based innovation, because it will not work in all the environments, right? But I didn't even know it was called community-based innovation, right? Until I'm just like linking the two right now and understanding where my innovation, like the iTest kits, will fall into. So thank you so much for that. So I'm just going to ask everybody on the table right now to tell us what's one problem, it could be community-based or not, that they would like to solve if you have, like, money is not your problem, right? One problem that you would like to solve. So we can just go around and answer.
Like to solve in the innovation hub or in the community? Where exactly?
Like anywhere, any problems that you're passionate about.
I can start.
That's a big question. I love it.
I think right now with COVID, a lot of people are very low on resources right now to adapt to the new reality, I think. For example, like some businesses are having trouble adapting themselves to like websites to sell their stuff or to communicate their product or their idea. And because of that, most businesses right now, not most, but like some are closing, which is very sad. So I think maybe if I had like a lot of money to like give to everyone, that would be it. It's kind of like helping everyone so that everything just goes to that balance that it used to be before. Yeah, that's my take on it.
I can go next. As someone whose passion is sustainability, I would take all of, because I believe the question was with all the money you can think of, or with a lot of money. So I would take that money and invest it into people, into resources around the world with the smartest people around, and help solve sustainable problems across the world, and help leave a positive Earth for future generations in the future. So
cool. So you want to create something that will sustain the environment for the future, right? That's what I understand. That is, if your money is not your problem.
Mm-hmm. That's what I would do. Yeah.
Awesome. I'm getting new insights here. Yeah. Gerhard, do you want to go next?
I have so many ideas. I think it's try to nail one down that I think would have like the highest impact. I don't know. I think like going back to the conversation we had last time, I think money being no object, I'd love to see more post-secondary educations embrace the idea of student enterprise and really have a chance to build that out and all the different variations and permutations that it could possibly take, just to help students, and particularly young adults, have a more practical way of finding what they're passionate about, finding what interests them, that can directly lead to a career, and not having to maybe go do like an art history degree and find out after graduation they're like, oh, this is hard to find a job. Like I actually need to go do something different. And to give them the opportunities along the way to not have to make these big, costly potential mistakes and find out too late, but to do it, to learn that upfront so that they can become more productive members of the workforce and have a lot more self-confidence and skills as they enter into the real world, so to speak.
Yeah,
I can go next.
Yeah, go ahead, Sophia.
So again, as Gerhard said, there's a lot of things that I would love to people pay attention to. And if I had a chance and I had to choose one, I probably would go with like projects for female and for women, because right now I'm working kind of in Spark with that project and with that program. And I know like deeper what people and what female in particular are faced with. And I would love to probably bring awareness of the community to what actually females can do and how powerful the community is. Yes, I think that's pretty important.
Awesome. Awesome. Women gender rights.
I have this question. Before starting any project, everybody has their own speculations of fear. And my question is to everybody. So you must also be having some kind of fear to start any community-based innovation project. So how did you overcome it? And what advice would you give to students who want to start something new and participate into the community-based innovations?
Well, I can answer especially the last part. So if you are a student who wants to engage and create or join into existing projects that help solve community-based problems, Enactus is a perfect platform for that. So a quick spiel on what Enactus is Enactus is Enactus SLC in particular is part of an international not-for-profit called Enactus, whose whole job it is to basically empower students to solve community-based problems. So it's really the name, it's such a perfect fit for the answer to this question is basically it provides funding, it provides a team, it provides a lot of resources to help students start student enterprises, like Gerhard was saying, solving problems like climate change or waste, or going deeper to that financial literacy, or anything that can be a community-based problem. Enactus is that platform to help students go and either join with an existing program or platform that we already have, or create a brand new one that they would be the project lead of, with support of a team across Canada, as well as the team here at St. Lawrence. So that's the answer to the end of the question.
Awesome. So I'm just going to build up on that question. Can you give us an example of any projects that you've worked on that are community-based?
Yeah, I mean, like for us, I mean, Spark is definitely one of those programs where almost every project we work on is one from the community. I think Spark was really started as something to help service faculty members who wanted to get their content into a more digestible form. So I think a lot of video sort of emerged from that, and that was kind of the original kind of platform that Spark played in. But since then, we've really expanded into becoming more of that sort of full service marketing agency that really brings in partners that are involved with or have a communication challenge that they need solved, right? So we went from really just servicing like an internal client base to an external client base. So there's a lot of different projects that have kind of resulted from that shift. And so, I mean, you name it really, I think through our history, we've worked on a lot of really great projects. But some highlights for me that are right now, I can never remember. If you say give me a list of your projects, I'm like, oh, there's too many, I can't remember. But some that we're working on right now is we're working on a company that's developing an entirely new form of water filtration systems that can be easily deployed in developing countries or rural areas that don't have access to clean water. That's one of that's a great project that we're working on right now. That's one that I can think of off the top of my head, but my team members, they're all working on a number of different projects that I think they can probably share some of the highlights from themselves. I don't want to be the one talking the whole time.
Yeah, sure. Anyone can just go ahead and, let us know the projects you're working on that are community-based.
I can probably note. Yeah, so right now, as I mentioned, I'm working with Your Way program. So this is a program that helps female entrepreneurs that face barriers and that want to open their own business. So SLC, along with Queen's University, they provide a lot of different classes, culinary entrepreneurship classes, that by the end of the program, female would be able to open their own business and to know how to work in the industry they want to grow in. That I personally think it's a great and awesome program, and that's exactly what our community needs. And yeah, this is just an awesome project, and I'm happy to be a part of it. Yeah,
absolutely, it is. It's an awesome project. Yeah.
Go
ahead.
I can speak a little bit about some of the Enactus projects, both this year and in years past. So in October, actually, we just did a Halloween harvest, which solves food insecurity in the community as the problem. And it was a really fun event that we partnered with the SA in every year. Also the CICE program here at St. Lawrence College and Partners in Mission Food Bank, where we collected food and money donations, which will then be going back to this year. It is all going back to the student food bank, with also another goal of ending kind of stigmas around, food banks. It's not a bad thing if you need to take an item from a food bank, and if anything, it should be encouraged, and especially if it is a need. So that's a really exciting recent project. And then over the last couple of years, we've been diving into more entrepreneurship of helping launch small businesses in the community with other entrepreneurs that might not have the skill sets to start that. So one in particular is, it is called Nisha's World. And it is actually a project that Spark and Enactus collaborated on, which helped this woman who wanted to start her own hair scarf and accessory business that gave back some of its profits to women who have lost their hair to cancer, and also providing free hair scarf to them, as well as when you go through that kind of process. One thing that is not a known issue is the impact of losing your hair. I know personally, I know that, but with that, we helped launch, an online website, a branding guide, and helping her establish her own brand and business. So that's another example of the range of different projects that we can work on.
This is this is so amazing that I'm blown away by the innovation and the ingenuity that I'm hearing right now. So I don't know if I don't know if Drishti has more questions to ask on this, or we can, move on.
I just wanted to ask some of them, discussed about the projects they're working on. So what things that stood out or surprised them the most while doing these projects? Anything that amazed them?
I can go. I think the thing that most surprised me about some of the projects, and most with Purify, with the water filtration systems, is that how as a Spark, as a student, young professionals can make a big impact and a big difference on their product, on their business. Just that how we can make a big difference on their image or the product. That's really encouraging for me personally.
And piggybacking off of what Hector said, one of the other projects that we have going on the go within Spark is we're doing work with the Ontario East Economic Development Corporation, where we do marketing recommendations around a strategy session for women entrepreneurs across Eastern Ontario. And I've been managing the process. I haven't necessarily been involved in doing the actual work for these women entrepreneurs, but it's been a great joy to see the students that are working on these projects quickly go from being nervous about, okay, now I'm responsible for providing this business with practical, actionable marketing insights that will have a positive impact for them, and very quickly go from being nervous and uncertain and unsure about themselves and their skills and abilities to very quickly having the self-confidence in their abilities to start taking over the whole process and really lead throughout the entire thing, and to see them not just their self-confidence, but also their knowledge and abilities as marketers to grow and blossom in that situation where it's always changing. No two clients are the same. Everyone has its own unique curveball that you have to deal with. It's been a great joy to see that.
Yeah, and I think from seeing that project as well, like I think it's one of the things that kind of highlights why community-based learning and Spark and sort of Enactus are such great areas to engage with, is because you kind of see, for us, it's very much building soft skills, right? And so I think one of those skills that kind of comes out to the top, in Gerhard's scenario that he was just talking about was, that uncertainty, and how do you deal with that, and how do you think critically to take stock of what you have in front of you, or really assess what the problem is and be able to come up with a solution on, more or less on the fly. And we kind of say for that is like, how far does the textbook really go? Like, you're learning all of these skills and these formats in class, which is all theory based, which is great. Because everything we do really needs to have sort of a precedent. But I think when you put those skills and all of that knowledge to the test, it's kind of, how do you do that in a way that is kind of not so structured, or just unstructured enough that it leaves variables. And I think like being able to navigate those. And I think it ties into one of your earlier questions about kind of like, what are some of the fears that you've been exposed to or seen? And I know like a barrier to getting started is often, being comfortable with the unknown, right? And I think a lot of the projects that we start, we do see, team members that are apprehensive with just sort of like even getting into a conversation with a client, right? So I think it's exposing, exposing people to that environment on so many different levels, and letting, as we get more comfortable, or as our team members get more comfortable navigating those, we sort of start to up the ante and give more responsibility and give more tasks and more things that help them really build those soft skills that they're not quite fully getting in the classroom.
And if I could say, as the leader of Enactus, and also being part of the Innovation Hub for a few years now, is an underestimated benefit of doing all these is kind of like Steve said, is seeing the volunteers, the people working on these projects grow as both people, but also in what their capabilities are. I've seen so many volunteers over the last 4 years that have come and been like, I will never present in my entire life. And then in a year, they'll be like,
fear of
standing in front of judges being like, I am doing this. And they look like they're doing a TED Talk. And it's just like incredible to see that growth in students who really put their all into it. So that's a really, because there's a lot of fears about jumping into something like this.
Exactly.
Public speaking is a big one. How do you start a project and talk to everyone? Like, can I reach out to this person? That client is kind of intimidating. Like, that is a huge barrier and a big fear for a lot of people.
Yeah, and I think like with those skills, like I was talking with Amanda, the other graphic designer, how like before this summer, when was like my first summer working full time for Spark. Before that, like just interacting in classes like online, it was kind of like shy, or like not like not like, cause no one shows their face in our classroom. No one really talks, speaks. So after this summer with Spark, I really lost like the that I just crossed that barrier. Now I'm just talking. Like every time in class, I'm not communicating with teachers, and class participating more, reaching out more. So I think like Spark helped me cross like that big barrier that maybe I wouldn't be able to cross in a normal classroom setting. So that's really cool.
Yeah, that's amazing. So we've talked about some surprises. We've talked about some great things that, people's or great skills that people can learn in doing this project. So I want to talk about the failures or challenges you faced while, doing this project. So Sophia, please, can you go next? Yeah.
Yeah, I was just about to ask you if I can go. So the main challenge that I can say that I faced here was starting working not only by myself, because like in previous projects, let's say not in Spark, I've been working by myself and I know how I work, I know what should I do, but now I have to communicate with the designers, maybe ask some opinions with other designers, I'll talk to other marketing coordinators, and it's for the first time. Yeah, it was really tough for me, though I thought, oh, I'm a really good communicator. I can talk to people. No, it's not all about talking to people. It's about finding like the same solution. And I can see, for example, one post in one way, but Amanda, the designer, she's seen an absolutely different way. And I know that she's right, but I'm like, no, I'm right here. I know that's correct. So yeah, but right now I see the growth and I can see that I'm more comfortable with asking for opinions, with knowing my, like, let's say downsides and what should I improve. So yeah, I think that was the main challenge that I kind of overcoming even right now. So yes, I'm on the way.
Yeah, is there any other person who wants to share their failures or challenges they faced while doing these projects?
Yeah, I can definitely speak to, over my last 3-4 years of creating projects, I've had a lot of projects that, I'm super passionate about, and it just doesn't work out. Not enough people show up to the events, it doesn't have the same impact, various other reasons.
Yeah.
And that can be really challenging right up first, oh, only 3 people showed up to this thing, I was expecting, at least 20. Like that can be, hard to take, but the important thing is to reflect on it in a couple of days. I always take a couple of days to then look at why didn't it work? Oh, why did nobody show up? Why did this not work? And it usually comes down to, oh, it's just a slight oversight there, or, it just wasn't what people were wanting. And it's okay that things don't work, especially in this kind of environment, like the Innovation Hub, Spark, and Enactus is like, you're allowed to almost have these mistakes of, if it doesn't quite work, you can learn from it and adapt. And as long as you get it right the next time, or at least better, it's always a positive experience.
Yeah. So yeah, go ahead, Steve.
I think that iteration is like a really big part of kind of how we evolve, right? And so I think a lot of, Gerhard and I talk almost constantly about process and how we can evolve and how we can make tweaks to make it better. And I think, a lot of that, failures and, a pretty essential part of that, right? So I think it's kind of, we like to approach failure as like a necessary part of a process and as part of growth, but I think the only true failure is like having a failure and not recognizing, not recording, not realizing like how you can grow from it. So I would say, to me, that's kind of from my perspective. If we're failing and growing, that's why we're here. If we're failing and not growing, then that's a problem.
That's a true failure.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. And any question?
Sorry, I was just going to add something, piggybacking off Steve's comment, was we've had a couple of failures in terms of doing projects where clients end up not being happy with the result either the result that we deliver or the process. And it's always a challenge to navigate how to have those hard conversations with the client. If need be, end the relationship. Sometimes, the ideal is always to work through it and come out the other side on the same page and end up delivering a good result for the client. But we've had a couple clients where it has not worked out, and in the end, unfortunately, we've had to either cut ties for various reasons. And it's good. it's always tough to be a part of, but it's also good exposure. Like for myself, even having worked in industry, it's always good to go through those experiences and to realize, like, look, sometimes things are not going to go the way you want it, even though you've done everything you possibly can. And sometimes the results are just out of your hands, and that's okay. And like, piggybacking off Steve, learn what you can from it, but sometimes things just don't play out the way they are. And that's all right. It doesn't mean you're less of a human being, or you're less of a marketer or a graphic designer or any of that. It's just, it's part of what life throws at you. And one of the harder lessons that sometimes, students at Spark have had to learn with projects, but at the same time, I think, I know Hector was in with me on one of those projects, I think maybe two, but we come out the other side stronger. So it's always, it's unpleasant, but it's part of life, and it's part of, it's part of becoming a professional, that sometimes things happen and you just have to learn how to roll with it.
Yeah, when you lose, you learn. So basically, I mean, mistakes are just part of life, and just for us to grow and learn, and just happens for a reason. Maybe just the right timing, the right space, the right people, but absolutely we learn from our mistakes and move on. So, and for the opportunity to even make that mistake, it's something to learn from, because sometimes as we are growing, we don't have the opportunity to make mistakes. I mean, we are banished for our mistakes. We are, we are reprimanded for our mistakes, right? So, Drishti, do you have any questions?
No, usually that's all.
Okay, so I just wanted to, ask if I want to Jaden to answer this question. If you've started a lot of projects or innovations, how did you overcome the fear of starting a community-based innovation?
I think that's a tough question. I think it has to stem from great support here. I've had really great mentors my entire time here. I think having that kind of support network is important. I've been around a lot of other great students who work with me, who have done things in the past, and to get overcome those fears of a project not working, it really comes down to that reflection piece, and then keep trying. What helps me is that I'm driven by passion, and so that passion will never go away for me not wanting to do something. So if something doesn't work, I'm going to look at it as, okay, why didn't that work? How can I also solve this problem? Because if it's a problem, I have the innate ability or feeling to want to solve that problem if it's doable within my means. So I think it's that kind of passion keeping me grounded, and then also that support network of when I run into issues, hey, I don't know how to do this. How do I do this? Hey, do you know how to do this? Oh yeah, I know how to do that. So surrounding yourself with people who are different, diverse in terms of, mindsets, skill sets, and just their experiences is an incredible part of being, in this kind of ecosystem, this environment at the Innovation Hub, that allows you to recover from kind of quote unquote failures of, maybe a project's not as successful as you would like, but it's all about that kind of, how do you respond to it?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that insight. So if you need to start, you have passion, you have vision, and you surround yourself with people. That's what I got from that. So I want to also find out, students listening to this, how do they start or participate in community-based innovations? How can students be a part of this?
Yeah, for like a lot of what we do, I think Spark being the model that it is, we often look for students with specific skills. So I think if you're a student who is studying anything in communications, like design or video or marketing strategy, social media, any of that kind of stuff. I mean, we typically hire in in around that sort of like February, March, we sort of start looking at how we're going to fill the positions. So with Spark, it's definitely in the summer, it's 35-hour-a-week full-time work for about 10 students, depending on kind of like what the projects look like and how our year is sort of shaping up. And then what we do is in the fall, we basically take those hours, reduce them to 12 hours per student. And the way it works is we'll split those hours up throughout your class schedule throughout the fall and winter terms. But yeah, so keep an eye. I think the biggest and honestly the best way to kind of keep in touch or keep you know, in the know of like what's happening and how to get involved is follow Innovation Hub. It's Innovation Hub SLC on, you know, on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn primarily. Also, you know, Enactus is always posting about different opportunities and events that where people can engage. Spark social media is there as well if there's anything you're missing from and you know, any events that are coming up. But really we're looking at like how do we really ramp up student engagement in you know, in the winter term that's coming up, because really we're, you know, I think everybody's feeling it. We're coming out of this you know, sort of year you know, that's been kind of really unorthodox compared to what we're all kind of used to. So ideally we're going to have sort of a lineup of events that you know will be happening through January, February, March, and April that are really designed to help students gain those soft skills, but also kind of engage and connect with community, right? So yeah, I think following us on social media is kind of the biggest way, I think, to sort of keep getting those updates. But as it stands right now, you know, we're really looking at kind of like ramping up that activity after the holidays. So
yeah,
Thank you. So yeah.
And I can speak a little bit more on the Innovation Hub and also Enactus of, you know, like Steve said, following the Innovation Hub is the best way to keep it in the loop with what they're doing, with what we're doing here. And in the new year, always look out for new opportunities. You know, we do hire people at the Innovation Hub, but there's also the chance of bringing in workshops from community members and kind of being that bridge between that. So that's a great way to build soft skills. And then through Enactus, this upcoming week is we're doing a hiring campaign for various different positions, marketing manager, HR, et cetera, et cetera. And so if you want to kind of keep in the loop with that and apply to that, it will be going up on our social media. So it's an Enactus SLC. I believe there's an underscore in between there, but and that's a great way. Or if you want, you can just email myself at jhook05@student.sl.on.ca. Whatever that is.
Whatever that is.
Whatever that email thing is. It's a good way to get involved as well. But yeah, following us on social media to update with projects and how to get involved is a good way.
Thank you so very much. It's been an amazing time spending time with you guys on this podcast, and we've learned so much from you, and I hope to see you guys in future. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Jaden, Sophia, Hector, Gerhard, Drishti. Thank you, everyone. And I want to tell our viewers, please make sure you follow us on all our social media handles, Instagram and Facebook at SA Voice Podcast, and listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and SoundCloud on The Voice Podcast. Thank you, everyone, and bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.